Good evening, folks. This is Deb. You know, let's talk about this latest conversation that we're having about fan toxicity in the WNBA because it does exist. I spend an awful lot of time on social media. I am in 15 Caitlin Clark groups on Facebook alone, and my involvement in Caitlin Clark groups doesn't end there. I'm in them on TikTok. I'm in them on Instagram. Some of them are fine, some of them are not. Okay. Now, Stephanie White says that she would like to see some of the toxic conversation around Caitlin Clark go away. And I agree with her. But some people have interpreted this as an attack on Caitlin Clark fans. And that is not true. Okay. So let's talk about what we know about what Stephanie White has said about Caitlin Clark. Number one, when she was hired by the Fever, she said she was thrilled to be given the opportunity to coach a generational player. Number two, she has stated just recently in an interview with Sue Bird, obviously, she is the centerpiece of everything we are doing in Indiana. Okay. Number three, she has complimented her on her work ethic and her ability to focus. Okay. And to perform at the high level she does with all the distractions around her. All right, she has likened her to Taylor Swift 2.0, who was another person who has received not only great praise in her career, but sharp criticism and has withstood it. Okay? But for some people, and this is absolutely true, there would be no coach good enough for Caitlin Clark but Lisa Bluder. But that was college, and this is the pros, and Lisa Bluder has retired. Okay? Lisa Bluder is retired. She coached for 28 years in college. She's done. But I will tell you this. Lisa Bluder coached Caitlin Clark. She did not just hand her the ball and hand her the reins. She coached Caitlin Clark. Because all the great players in the league know that they are not at their pinnacle after a year and a half. And all the great players in the WNBA, in the NBA, in Major League Baseball, in football, do not have a problem with being coached. That's what the coach is there for. Okay? That is the coach's job. It is Stephanie White's job to coach the Indiana Fever, not to run the Caitlin Clark fan club. She has not been shy about telling people what she thinks of Caitlin Clark. But people will always be cherry picking and nitpicking everything Stephanie White says. And that is my whole point about toxicity, because all of this conversation surrounding Stephanie White, like the notion that she was hired to sabotage Caitlin Clark's game, that comes from people like Keep the Vision, Ben Daniels, John the Liquidator, Black and White Sports, who, by the way, is a flat out racist and a flat out homophobe. And I would never use any of those guys in clips as an opening to my videos. None of them. Because they are there to incite this toxicity, and they have created this toxicity in the fan base. What would be the point of the Indiana Fever having the opportunity to draft Caitlin Clark, clearly the greatest woman basketball player in all of college, only to sabotage her game? Stop it, okay? It makes absolutely no sense. Now, maybe you don't like Stephanie White as a coach. Fine, but you know what? She's coached for 1 year. And for the first year that she had Caitlin Clark, she didn't even have Caitlin Clark except for 13 games. There is no way this Indiana Fever team gets to the semifinals without Stephanie White coaching. They didn't do this themselves. Half of these players weren't even on the team for more than 2 or 3 weeks at a time. She literally played with a hospital squad. So, I can tell you this. There are a lot of people in these Facebook groups, particularly, who claim to be Caitlin Clark fans, who are just there inciting people. People who make posts about Angel Reese is whining because Caitlin Clark got this, or Angel Wilson is pissed because Caitlin Clark did that. It's not just in the YouTube world, it's in the social media world. And none of that stuff is actually happening. None of that stuff is actually happening. Okay, and the GOAT argument. Okay, so what did Asia Wilson say? That she's on her way to being the GOAT? So what? Let her say it. The GOAT argument will never be solved, okay? Because being the GOAT is in the eyes of the beholder, quite frankly. All right? Caitlin Clark thinks that LeBron James is the GOAT. I think Larry Bird's the GOAT to this day. I have friends who think Magic Johnson's the GOAT. Okay? I know people who think Diana Taurasi's the GOAT. Caitlin Clark thinks Maya Moore was the GOAT in the women's side of basketball. The GOAT argument will never be won because everybody's got a different perspective, and that's okay. What do I think? I think Caitlin Clark is, honestly, I've never seen anybody either on the men's or the women's side play basketball like her. To me, she's the GOAT. I like it. I embrace it. Okay? But other people may not feel that way. And Caitlin Clark doesn't stay up at night worrying about that stuff like her fans do. There is plenty of toxicity out there. And I am telling you, it gets started somewhere. And it is usually from content creators who are monetized. Every one of those guys I mentioned, they're all monetized. Okay? They need the hits because it brings them money. So what do? They create bullshit headlines and cause trouble. I went tonight before I came on. I saw at least the title of 5 videos that I know are blatantly not true. Okay? Now, what did Asia Wilson say after winning the championship? That she thinks some of the history of the league got erased in the Caitlin Clark frenzy? So be it. Let her say it. That doesn't mean she hates Caitlin Clark. And I can tell you right now that Caitlin Clark doesn't hate her. But players, when they're playing each other on the court, they're not always going to be friendly and all sweetness and light. When they're on the court, they're competitive. It's one thing. When they're off the court, it's another. It's the same way in all of sports. So, look, I agree with Stephanie White. There is far too much toxicity surrounding Caitlin Clark. I get that. And instead of, people understanding her concern for that in terms of the WNBA as a league and her concern for that as far as Caitlin Clark goes, they twist it into some kind of personal attack on Caitlin Clark's fans. That is not what she said. Not even close. So we need to kind of get off that, okay? This is what we should be doing, folks, okay? We should be looking forward now to 2026 and Caitlin Clark in beast mode, because you know and I know that she could have a double-double every single night. She was on her way to that at the beginning of this year. First 5 games, she opened the season with a triple-double and had 2 double-doubles after that. And then unfortunately, she was sidelined by injury. She will be back next year and she will be hungrier than ever. Okay. But let's be wary of one thing. She is coming back with a whole new team, and it will take that team time on the court to gel. And I believe they would have gelled had Caitlin Clark remained healthy. Okay. And who knows what could have been had they not lost all those players. We're going to have to see, can they bring back Sophie Cunningham? Can they bring back Lexi Hull? Okay, I do believe they will be back. But beyond that, we're talking about at least, at the very least, 5 new players. You think about Clark, Boston, Timpson, Hull, Cunningham, Kelsey Mitchell, 6. You can carry 12 players, or you can carry 11 to stay under the salary cap. That's the way it works in the WNBA. So either way, it's going to be 5 new players or 6 new players. And we'll see who comes back from last year's team and who does not. But this is what we should be focused on here, okay? Not nitpicking, not cherry picking, and not getting negative simply because you see sensational headlines elsewhere that affects your thinking. I know how it works because I used to watch these guys. And, I'm almost embarrassed to say that because I would never watch them now. Now that I know exactly what they're all about, I'm not even the least bit interested. Okay? And that's why I run the groups as tight as I do. I will see you all tomorrow. I got some clips to show you. I'm going to see what I can dig up on the CBA. We are now on December 11th, and we have an extension until January 9th. So, things are heating up, and I believe we haven't heard a lot about this for a reason, but I still believe we have a season. What does start tomorrow, I believe, is Team USA training camp at Duke University. And Caitlin Clark will be there. So I will also see what I can dig up on that. And I will be back to see you tomorrow night. We definitely want to know what's going on there. I will see you soon.